Hello there, very good Thursday evening to all of viewers. Welcome, this is Primetime News. We come to you live and direct this evening from our Newsfirst studios in Colombo. I'm Joel Outskun. We start off today with a look at the headlines.
Pujit and Hemasiri grilled before the Select Committee. Supreme Court appoints a full bench for the petition on the April 21st attacks. SLFP MPs request the President to contest for the upcoming presidential elections. Japanese company to withdraw from the Central Expressway project. Tourist arrivals at hotels drops from 70% to 7%, says the President of the Hotel Association. Delays in concessionary packages for tourism jeopardizes the industry.
Starting off with our lead story this evening. Now, the Supreme Court today informed that all the petitions filed regarding the April 21st attacks will be taken up before a 7-judge bench.
The petitions filed requesting for action to be taken against the Inspector General of Police and the Secretary of Defence as they failed to take necessary action even after being informed of the April 21st attacks was taken up for consideration today. The fundamental rights petitions were filed separately by Saman Nandana Sirimana, a resident of Vennavatta, Vellampitiya, who lost his 2 children in the explosion at the St. Anthony's Church in Kochikade. Jagatis Vidanage, Nagananda Kodituaku, the Bar Association of Sri Lanka and 3 other Catholic priests were also petitioners. The Supreme Court bench comprising of Buwaneka Aluvihare, Sisira Diabru and LTB Dehidenia, who considered the petition, stated that all of the cases will be taken up before a 7-judge bench on the 12th of July. The bench ordered for all the relevant documents to be handed over to the parties to the petition within a week and for objections to be filed by the respondents 2 weeks from then. The Supreme Court informed the petitioners to file counter-objections within a week after the objections are filed by the respondents.
Now, the parliamentary group of the Sri Lanka Freedom Party has handed over a letter to President Maithripala Sirisena requesting him to contest the upcoming presidential election.
The letter requests the President to take leadership in forming a broad and progressive alliance against the United National Party. The letter was handed over to the President at the Presidential Secretariat this afternoon by a group including SLFP's Senior Vice Chairman Nimal Siripala de Silva, General Secretary Dayasiri Jayasekara, Mahinda Samarasinghe, Sarath Amanugama, Duminda Disanayaka, Faiza Mustafa and Ranjit Siambala Pitiya.
Deputy Leader of the United National Party, Sajith Premadasa, expressed the following views during an event held in Anuradhapura today.
The country faced a huge crisis. Thousands of lives were lost, hundreds were injured, and at present several parts of the island are facing droughts. Some poor families live by eating lotus potatoes from the nearby pond. Amid all of these issues, our power-hungry opponents have started musical chairs through Facebook, where various parties are paid to spread false rumors regarding the next presidential candidate. Everyone is struggling for power. Everyone is struggling to become the next president or the prime minister or a cabinet minister. I have no hunger for power, titles or position. My only objective is to protect the rights of the 22 million people living in Sri Lanka.
Minister Sajith Premadasa expressed these views during an event to declare open the 199th model village constructed under the 77 housing program. This model village, which has been named Arafa Gramam, is equipped with water, electricity and internal roadway facilities and consists of 25 housing units. More than 22 million rupees has been incurred to construct this village. Land deeds to house owners and Visiri housing loans were presented in line with the event.
Now, it has been reported that although all Muslim ministers announced their resignation from the cabinet, they have not actually submitted their resignation.
It was noted in Parliament today that according to the Constitution, the ministers must individually submit their letter of resignation to the President. It was stated that the letter of resignations will be presented to the President in the coming days as the ministers were celebrating the Ramazan festival yesterday.
Now, we get News First exposed several reports on the Central Expressway in the recent past. Now, cabinet approval has been granted to award the 4th phase of the project of a Chinese company by the name of Gashuba. Although cabinet approval was granted for the 4th phase of the project, the 1st and 3rd phases of the same project are facing major setbacks.
It has been 4 years since the construction of the Central Highway began. The initial plan was for the first phase to be constructed from Kadawatha to Mirigama, the second phase from Mirigama to Kurunegala, and the third phase from Potuhera to Galagedara. The fourth phase was planned to be constructed from Kurunegala to Dambulla. The construction of the first phase was agreed to be handed over to China. However, the expected loan for the project has not yet been granted by the ADB. An agreement was struck for a loan of $1 billion. However, Sri Lanka has to pay an advance of 15% before the loan is granted. The Ministry of Highways stated that the preparations are being made to seek cabinet approval for the payment of this sum. Against the backdrop where the construction of the first phase of the project is on hold, steps were taken to hand over the construction of the fourth phase of the project to China. Meanwhile, the construction of the second phase of the Central Expressway project is being carried out by a number of local contractors through loans obtained from state banks. Although the construction of this section from Mirigama to Kurunegala is nearing completion, the phase 2 has hit a stumbling block due to issues with the construction of the interchange at Potuhera. The construction of the interchange was included in the third phase of the project, and thereby the project had been handed over to Japan. However, due to an urgent need to construct the Potuhera interchange, the government presented a proposal to cabinet to include this section under the second phase of the project. While the consideration of the proposal at the cabinet was postponed for 2 weeks, the minister in charge of the ministry, Kabir Hashim, resigned in the interim. The Japanese company Taisei has warned the government of a complete withdrawal from the construction of the third phase of the project if this section is included under the second phase. If this interchange is constructed under the third phase, it will take 2 more years for the completion of the second phase of the project. The first, second and third phases of the Central Expressway project is in jeopardy.
The Colombo-Kandy Expressway is an embodiment of the failures and inefficiencies of the present government. They first divided the project into 3 phases. After 4 years of idling, it is now reported that the third phase is due to be cancelled. Is this true, Minister? For 4 years, local representatives visited Japan and Japanese representatives visited Sri Lanka to discuss the terms of the agreement. It was then informed to Parliament that the contract was awarded to a company named Taisei. But now we learn that the deal has been cancelled. What is the meaning of this? We must not forget that the previous government was in power for a period of 10 years. The present government has only been in power for 4 years. If you and your colleagues had left this government a bit earlier, we could have taken these decisions and concluded this matter much faster. Go and ask your leader who made the decision at the time. Ask your leader who made investment committee decisions. Provide answers to these questions. The present government has failed to make any decision. They failed in the past and even in the present. Shall I name the projects that were undertaken because of me? Do not talk about matters that we are not aware of. This is an inefficient and unsuccessful government that is incapable of making any decision, and a government that fights from morning till evening. No. Let me answer. Let me provide an answer to embarrass all of you. 80% of the FDI received last year is from China. Therefore, the present government cannot take credit for that. Let's now wait and see the FDI figures for this year. However, we cannot blame you. You were not given the suitable position. Now tell me, aren't experts such as you worth of cabinet positions? Do you not believe you are worthy enough? An MP cannot operate in the same capacity as a minister. Therefore, your statement is a lie. However, we wish that knowledgeable and talented people like you are appointed to right positions.
Representatives of civil societies too expressed the following views.
The biggest issue with Mahinda Rajapaksa was that when he fantasized, he constructed highways, expressways, stadiums and ports. These were Mahinda Rajapaksa's fantasies. We now see the present government is also following the steps of Mahinda Rajapaksa's mega development projects. Accordingly, we have observed several issues with the Kandy Expressway. Constructing roads and expressways without any strategic direction for political benefit and personal objectives and the misuse of public funds are all major issues.
Now, the Cabinet of Ministers had decided to amend the Penal Code to criminalize the publication of false news that affects coexistence among communities and endanger national security. The decision was the subject of discussion at a number of events held.
All of a sudden, a cabinet paper on controlling the freedom of press was submitted to the cabinet yesterday. We have not been able to look into this properly yet. But even during the formulation of the 19th Constitutional Amendment, Ranil Wickremesinghe tried to slip in certain provisions to curb the freedom of media. The President, together with all of us, did not allow that to happen. After that, they attempted to bring in the Counter-Terrorism Act, which includes many provisions that will restrict the entry of media personnel to certain places, prevent the media of even taking photographs at certain locations, and restrict the ability of journalists to obtain certain information and publish them. Although President Maithripala Sirisena dreamed of a free country free of terror, a country free of fraud and corruption, and a country with the freedom of press, Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe wanted to corner the trade unions, restrict the media, and do what he wants. He wanted our country to continue to function as a colony of America and Europe.
ලෝකයේත් එක්ක ඇමරිකාව වගේ යුරෝපයත් එක්ක අපි යටත් විජිතයක් හැටියට අපේ රට හිර කරලා තියලා කටයුතු කරගෙන යනවා. සුපුරුදු පරිදි ඡන්දයක් ළඟ එන තත්ත්වයක්.
As usual, since an election is coming up, now they are going after the media. When he was the leader of the opposition, he threatened journalists. And now, when he is the Prime Minister, he is threatening journalists. Not once, twice or thrice, but many times he has threatened journalists. Now what is he trying to do again? He's trying to stop the media from reporting the truth to the general public. We sternly request the President, who is the only member in Cabinet who is against the UNP, to prevent this Cabinet paper from getting through.
Ranil Wickremesinghe මහත්තයා දිගටම පාර්ලිමේන්තුවේ කිව්වා.
Ranil Wickremesinghe named certain journalists from newspapers and openly threatened them in Parliament. So we very clearly state to the government, if you are trying to deprive the country of democracy, if attempts are being made to undemocratically quell the public outcry against the government, and if you are trying to rid the country of true journalism and suppress the media, you cannot stop the people from rallying against it. So I would like to inform the government that the national forces of this country are closely watching all the steps that you take. Meanwhile, Minister Partli Champikaranawaka stressed on the need to impose strict rules and regulations to regulate the media at an event held in Kandy today. Some media institutions in this country cannot write on the good things that happen. The pen does not move, the camera does not see, and the microphone does not turn towards these. They always want to report on what is bad. If we are to move forward as a country, we need to impose strict laws to govern discipline on these issues. Certain rules and regulations governing media were changed in the hope that the media will act responsibly. But we can see that certain media personnel do not act with such responsibility. Certain owners of media institutions do not have this responsibility. So we will have to act against these for the benefit of the general public. So I request everyone to act responsibly. Is it the people or the politicians who decide on the truthfulness of a news report?
Inspector General of Police and the former Secretary of Defence, Hemasiri Fernando, appeared before the Special Parliamentary Select Committee into the April 21st attacks.
You also spoke to the IGP the previous evening, and told him
that there is
information that something might happen the next day, right?
Yeah.
So how did you get that information to?
SIS, I was not well that day. I was sleeping, and but although I had a very bad headache. My telephone was working, and then I got a call at about, I really don't know, maybe 6:30 or 7, I don't know, by Director SIS. He said, "Sir, I have sent a WhatsApp message, read it." That's what he said. Normally I don't like WhatsApp. I hate WhatsApp, but I read it.
Why?
And then it was information about a possible attack. And then I spoke to Director SIS again. I said, "What now?" I read the message. What? So I have already spoken to IGP. I given all the information. You please speak to IGP and put some pressure. I spoke to IGP. Then he confirmed that he is aware and is making arrangement. And I said, if there's anything, you get back to me. Then I tried to contact Director SIS. His phone was engaged. Then I sent him a message. I spoke to IGP, come back.
Now, this is a very serious information that something was going to happen the next day. The president was not in the country. Didn't you think that you had to inform the president at that point?
Honorable Sir, even at that point, I did not think that I should inform. The reason I will explain little later.
The reason is that
Because they are very, very personal and
No. Personal issues you can say it here. Only if it has any adverse impact on national security, we will hear it in camera. You can't choose what you want to say in public and what you want to say in private.
Okay, I will. Let me explain. The only thing that we can do is pass the information on to the law enforcement agency in Sri Lanka, that is the Inspector General Police. So it has been done by the SIS, and I also spoke to IG. I said, what is the situation? I'm making arrangements, so I'll get back if there's necessity, right? And Director SIS also confirmed, and they are working on that. Get back to me if it is necessary. But nobody spoke to me.
Question is, why didn't you think the President should be informed? Didn't you think that the President should be informed?
Yes, I think, sir. But I thought President has already been informed.
By the SIS chief?
Yeah.
Because that was the practice.
That was the practice.
That was the practice. And you assumed that the President had been informed by the SIS chief, and therefore you were not required to do. Is that what you are trying to say? Was there any information given to the President in your presence?
No. No, sir.
No.
In the Security Council meeting that you attended, you said you attended about 3 or 4 Security Council meetings.
Hatara.
Did they speak about the NTJ at any one of those meetings?
I can't even remember. You would know that we do not keep records of the proceedings of the Security Council. We only exchange information verbally. The relevant officials will only take notes of things that they have to do, and they carry out those orders. I have taken down certain notes as well. I don't have some of these notes that I took down because I did not bring them along with me today. But as far as I know, we did not speak about this.
මේ ගැන එකක්වත් කතා කරලා නැහැ. හැබැයි මදුෂ් කරන නම් ඕන තරම් කතා කරලා. මේ තුනේම කතා කරලා. ඒ දවස්වල මදුෂ් වරෙන්ද වෙන එකක් නැහැ.
We did speak a lot about Madhush.
ලේකම් ගැන කතා කරනකොට ගෝඨාභය රාජපක්ෂ මහත්තයයි මමයි අතර ලොකු වෙනසක් තිබුණා.
When speaking about defense secretaries, there is a huge difference between myself and Gotabaya Rajapaksa. Gotabaya Rajapaksa was the unofficial Minister of Defense. I am a helpless secretary who cannot even speak with the Minister of Defense once a week. Sometimes at the weekly Security Council meetings, I leave Sisera Mendes at the meeting and I wait for about 3 hours to get the file signed. This is the situation.
Now, the politicians are increasingly concerned about controlling false news. However, they seem to be less concerned about the false promises that they themselves make to the people. Are they trying to curtail and control the media from time to time by labeling it false news because the media continues to reveal the false promises that they make? The tourism industry has also fallen prey to the false promises of these politicians who are more worried about covering their actions rather than working in the interest of the public.
A report issued by the Tourism Development Authority reveals that when compared with equivalent figures from April last year, the number of tourist arrivals to Sri Lanka have declined. However, the Tourism Development Authority is yet to release data of tourist arrivals during May this year, the month that was affected the most by the April 21st attacks. However, the decline in tourist arrivals to Sri Lanka is clearly evident through data obtained from the Department of Immigration and Emigration. During April last year, 187,235 individuals had arrived in Sri Lanka on tourist visas, while in April this year, this figure had declined to 173,297. During May last year, 150,495 individuals had arrived in the island on tourist visas, while in May this year, this figure had dropped to 55,771, recording a decline of approximately 63%. Against such a backdrop, the government made several announcements of a relief package to institutions operating within the tourism industry. However, has the tourism industry realized this benefit as yet? Newsfirst made several inquiries in this regard.
Within days after the April 21st attacks took place, the finance minister introduced a relief package to hotels and other institutions operating in the tourism industry. He made an announcement that the relief packages range between 20 million and 250 million rupees and that it will be provided. However, even though the government has taken steps to provide relief to the owners of these institutions, the government has failed to provide any relief to the people employed in such institutions. Therefore, the workforce of approximately 200,000 employed in the tourism industry is facing severe issues. We urge the government to take immediate action to address the difficulty of the employees as well. I have in my hand the document pertaining to the proposed relief package. All employees are facing several issues. When we inquired regarding this, it appears that no institution in the tourism sector has received such a package. Banks have not been informed in this regard. We are yet to receive such a relief package. There was a meeting last week with the Finance Minister and the Secretary to the Ministry of Finance in Higuragoda. During the meeting, they clearly stated that they have notified the banks. However, the banks claim that they are yet to receive notifications. We would like to propose, instead of a relief package, to implement a promotional program.
What measures can be introduced to address these issues and to uplift the tourism industry? Speaking to Newsfirst, the president of the Sri Lanka Hotels Association, Sanat Ukwata, says that tourist bookings at hotels have dropped from 70% to 7%.
I understand that several banks have signed the MOU with the central bank with regards to the moratorium and the loans. So we are very confident that the government will of course, will stick to their promise and get this thing implemented for the entire industry. Situation like this, people are, after the bomb attack of hotels in Colombo, people are a little skeptical in Sri Lanka. Mm-hmm. Now that the country's security situation has come back to normal, and most countries have removed the travel ban and the advisories have been softened.
In the meantime, the United Kingdom has relaxed its travel advisory to Sri Lanka, imposed after April 21st attacks, and is no longer advising against non-essential travel. However, it has asked the tourists to remain vigilant.
Moving on, this is when the IGP testified before the Select Committee.
He wanted you to transfer Nishanta Silva out of that unit.
Yes.
Yeah. And after the...
And my secretary also told me several times.
Right.
Actually, secretary told me
that
he has been told by...
Secretary who is the secretary?
At the time...
no, Law and Order Secretary. Law and Order Secretary.
Which secretary told you, Mr. Jayasundara?
Yeah, which secretary told you? No. How many years?
It's not really clear, I think.
No, you were just telling us... You are just telling us my secretary told me. When you give an answer here, saying my secretary told me, you will have in your mind a picture of somebody telling you.
If I remember
so you should know the person's name.
If I remember correct, it is Mr. Hemasiri Fernando.
Mr. Hemasiri Fernando was not secretary on the 23rd of October or before the 23rd of October.
Is it?
No. That
has to be checked. That has to be checked.
No, I'm telling you, Mr. Hemasiri Fernando was not Secretary Defence Ministry before the 23rd of October 2018. So who is the secretary who told you?
Before that, the secretary was Mr. Kapila Vaidyarathan.
Well,
yeah. Did he tell you?
Right, did he tell you? So you are saying, did he tell you?
He told me as it was told by H. the President.
H. the President. So you said H. the President told you and also the Secretary also told you. And so you effected the transfer.
Reluctantly.
You reluctantly effected the transfer of Nishanta Silva, IP.
Because as a policy I didn't agree because I know the capacity and I know the work load he has been performing for years. I know his integrity, I know his honorability.
Right.
And I know his work, the quality of the work. And that I also know because I specifically checked from Senior DIG, CID and the Director CID.
So why did you
personally known to me?
Knowing all that, why did you give in to the pressure? Why didn't you give in to political pressure like that? As Honorable Hakim asked you, you are an independent officer.
Yeah.
You can't be removed by the President.
Yeah.
You can only be removed by a special process in Parliament. With all that guarantee of your tenure, why did you give in to political pressure like that?
Now, Sri Lanka will take on Pakistan in their third match of the ICC Cricket World Cup 2019 tomorrow. The question is, will the Lions be able to beat Pakistan for the first time in World Cup history? Newsfirst Martin Sathinesan files this report.
Sri Lanka scripted a remarkable comeback with the ball against Afghanistan. Now, they will take on the ever unpredictable Pakistan. Both the teams are fresh from their wins against Afghanistan and England. In Bristol, this would be the first time the two sides will be facing each other. Sri Lanka have played 3 matches at the venue, losing 2, and the other ended without a result in 2016. Pakistan, on the other hand, have played twice in Bristol, the most recent match being in 2019. The other was back in 1999, where Pakistan won. Sri Lanka have never won a World Cup ODI match against Pakistan. The two sides have met 7 times, with Pakistan clinching all of the matches. The most recent being in 2011, where Pakistan defeated Sri Lanka by 11 runs. Mohammad Hafiz, Angelo Matthews and Thisara Pereira are the surviving members of that match. The most recent 2 completed ODIs saw the chasing side winning in Bristol. England chased down 358 runs against Pakistan in just 44.5 overs when the two sides played a bilateral limited over series in May. The Australians chased down 209 runs in 34.5 overs against Afghanistan in the 4th match of the World Cup. Overall, the odds are in favour of the side chasing, who have won 10 matches in Bristol, as opposed to 7 won by the side defending. Pakistan has the upper hand in ODIs against Sri Lanka, winning 90 of the 153 matches played, while Sri Lanka have won 58. 4 matches ended without a result, a solitary match tied. Sri Lanka can take positive from their top 3 batsmen, the way they batted against Afghanistan, and their bowling performance, especially the likes of Nuwan Pradeep and Lasith Malinga. The area for improvement is their mid-order batting. The likes of Kusal Mendes, Angelo Matthews and Dhananjay De Silva should return to form quickly. Will the Lions be able to defeat Pakistan for the first time in World Cup history? We'll find out tomorrow.
Well, with that sports update, we bring to close this edition of Prime Time News. Thank you very much for stopping by. More news follows on our award-winning website, that is www.newsfirst.lk. I'm Joel Outscoon. Take care. Good night.